Folks, I've got 7 o'clock, so I'm gonna go ahead and call to order this November 14, 2023 meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the Town of White Lake. And I would ask, first of all, that you bow your heads for the invocation. Dear Lord, we wish to thank you for giving us the opportunity to be able to gather here this evening to discuss the business of our town. We ask that you guide and direct us as we attempt to do your will and to do those things that are in the best interest of the citizens of this town. These things we ask in Christ's name. Amen. The first item we have on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. And at this time, I would ask Commissioner Suggs, if he would, to lead us in the pledge. Y'all are welcome to join him.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just wanted to mention that our town manager, Sean, will not be present with us tonight. Sean is sick, unfortunately. He has contracted COVID. Talked to him this afternoon and wasn't feeling particularly well, so y'all keep him in your thoughts. And hopefully he'll mend during this week. Also wanted to mention that Dean Hilton is out of town, contacted us, I think out of state, and will, to the best of my knowledge, will not be able to get back in time for this meeting. And I haven't heard anything from Tom. I know he's had some medical issues. I want you to keep him in your thoughts also. But I don't anticipate he would be here with us tonight, and we'll try to follow up to see how he's doing. So just wanted to mention that and keep those folks in your thoughts if you would. The first item we have on the agenda tonight is the approval of the consent agenda items, which is the agenda adoption, approval of minutes, October utility releases and tax refunds, and the 2021 general record schedule for local government agencies. Soon you've had a chance to take a look at all of those. And with that, I would entertain a motion that we approve the consent agenda items in item number 1 as presented.
So moved. Second.
The motion second, any discussion? Not all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Next matter on our agenda are the public hearings that we have for tonight. And Madam Clerk, if you would provide to me those sheets, if you've got those. Thank you, ma'am. Okay. Or these are separate ones. Okay, I'll look at this one. Yep. Okay, we have 3 items for public hearing tonight. And let's see. First item in item 2A is a public hearing on Town of White Lake zoning map amendment request. This is Apartment Concepts LLC submitted a zoning map amendment request to rezone property located at 1117 White Lake Drive from R1 residential to R2 recreational residential. And let's see. Okay. In accordance with the general statutes, we have notified the adjoining property owners, and this has been duly advertised in the Bladen Journal. Anyone wishing to speak should sign up prior to 7 p.m. We have 2 lined up to speak or signed up to speak on this RZ 2411, which is in 2A. And the person's lined up to speak as I call on you, if you will identify yourself for the record, even though we may know who you are, and then you can address the board. First person signed up to speak on this is Terry Holland.
I'm not really sure if this is the time or when he gets to the next hearing, because it's all about the property. Since April. This first came before the planning board in April, and at that time, the planning board looked at the application and it was not complete. At that time, they were talking about building 12 units, like one to across from you, with 8 there, and they were talking about building 12 on this property. When it went before the planning board last month, we were told that it was 8 two-story apartments in one building. And then when the residents got the letter for tonight's hearing, it was 4 duplexes. Yeah, so it's changed every time. Is it gonna change again once it's approved or not approved? Which one are they going with? Just questions that come up because every time it's presented on paper, it's different, or from what Ryan tells the board. Also, this property has no water access, and I'm not sure that there is a need for apartments at White Lake that have no water access. I'm afraid it may be a burden on the people that live nearby, that these people are going to want to try to get to water and trespass in the process. If you look at the fish and wildlife wetlands mapper, a large part of this piece of property is on that map, wetlands. And just think, if Tilden Walker had been an environmentalist instead of a developer, think of how clear our water would be right now. You could live somewhere else at the lake, but it's not there, where it was all peat and part of filtering system for the lake. If indeed this piece of property is part of wetlands, please wait until we've had a groundwater study to see if indeed we do need to preserve and take conservative efforts to save the wetlands that are around the lake, especially that close. On the application, it says they'll check with some civil engineers to make sure there's no environmental impact. Isn't that something they should do before they get to this point?
All right, at this time, the next person signed up to speak is Ryan Godwin. Ryan, if you'll step up, please. And again, give your name for the record, please.
Thank you, board. My name is Ryan Godwin, and I am a partner member of Apartment Concepts. And as Terry said, we have gone through this process I think we just started in April. We came through to the planning board and had most of the information that we needed based on what some of the people from the town had kind of told me what I needed. And so we found out we needed a couple more things, to list of property owners and things like that. So we backed up. We actually had not purchased the property when we came here in April. And so we kind of backed up and regrouped. And one of the things that we actually saw was a new wetlands map that Terry has just mentioned. That is the reason why we are not building as many units as we planned on building before, because they did change the wetlands map to include a property that's in the back of this to kind of use into this area a little bit. So that is one of the things that has changed, how many units. But when I did come to the zoning board, the plan, the only thing that has changed as far as how many units that we're going to build would be initially what we were planning on building when in April, before we even had a zoning meeting. They basically said I didn't have my application wasn't complete, and so there was no vote, there was nothing, and we kind of stopped. We came back, and what I put in front of you guys is to build 4 duplexes, but they would be all in one building. One building with 4 units. So that part has not changed. I know that may be confusing, but it's one building with 4 units in the building. 2-story units. Most of the time when you see a duplex, you see two units per building. This is gonna have 4 units per building. So we've
Would you say
actually
it's
done
2 buildings with 4 units? per
one building, 4 units in one building. So one building, 4 doors. So that's what the plan is, and that you should have a copy of a plot plan that shows that. That's what we put in front of the zoning board. And that is what they approved, with one building that has 4 units.
You can see that. Let me see.
Talk about a rendering, Ryan, do you have a rendering of it, or it's just the lab plot?
Well, actually, I haven't really, but she's got a plot plan. I haven't.
You do?
Yes, I can. Well,
Ooh. How many acres did I create this deal? Yeah, this picture is.
they actually have these are copies of the made, so I think I have, this is exactly the same thing. Did I get it? I'm board. That's it right there. And then also to give an example, so they kind of want to know what I mean by that parking lot. So we built basically this exact same unit, in Elizabethtown, right in front of your office, actually, Goldston, on South Robinson Street. And so parking lot in the front. And 1, 2, 3, 4 units all in one building. And the exterior of the units are gonna look very similar to the units that are next to another building here in White Lake. So the 2-story units, that's the plan.
So four units in one building.
That's
And
right.
that's what's being, that's what I had been told and what I
Yes, sir.
understood, but.
Yes, sir.
And you understand once that's proposed, and then there, of course, that's the only thing that can be approved.
That
If
is
it
correct.
is approved, it can't be expanded
Yes, that is
without
correct.
additional action.
Yeah, so I definitely want to make sure that everybody understood that. Like I said, one of the reasons that we shrank this, is this is gonna have a very small footprint on that piece of property. It's actually a very large piece of property. So most of this is gonna be right closer, obviously, within the setbacks, but closer to the road. And the other thing that I'll bring up is, because I've actually had a couple of people call me, even some neighbors of Mr. Whitfield's and some other people that live near Fry Landing that had the concern of, are these people gonna have water rights? Now, no, they're not gonna have water rights. They're gonna be told that they don't have water rights. None of the people that are living in our community, it's called Summer Winds across from the, medical building, have water rights. We've not had a single situation where people walk across the street on any private property, made their way on anybody's piers or anything like that. We will give them access to Goldston Beach if they want. If somebody that moved in there wanted access to the lake, then we have the ability to give them access to the lake, but it would obviously not be there. But we have an extreme, as far as needing apartments at the lake, regardless of whether they have water access or they don't have water access, we still have an extremely large need for housing. This is not gonna be low income housing. This is not gonna be inexpensive rent. This rent's gonna be $1,200 or more per unit. Which is exactly what we have over at Summerlin. So they're not gonna be low income housing by any means. We do background checks, credit checks, on all of the type tenants that would be in this unit. So, just to kind of cover all the bases, it will be a more expensive unit. It will be 3 bedroom, 2 bath. We'll have a maximum number of 5 people per unit. And like I said, small footprint, because we are noticing that there are some low areas in the back of this property. So we're basically only able to use the front portion. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you. That was the folks that were signed up to speak in regard to that portion of the hearing. And so with having received those comments, the public hearing is closed. Item 2B also involves Apartment Concepts LLC special use permit. When we take action later on during the meeting, we have to go ahead and hold a public hearing as to a special use permit. But if the, and we will consider that if the actual rezone is approved. If the rezone is not approved, then that would not be changed. The difference in this hearing is it is a quasi judicial hearing. Anyone to speak will need to be sworn. And at this time, I will open the public hearing in regard to the Apartment Concepts. And let me point out to you that in the agenda packet contained in there in item B for the special use permit, it does in fact say to construct 4 apartments at 1117 White Lake Drive and identifies the map. So that's what is being sought, and that's stated in your agenda. So that's the only thing that could be received. So at this point, I will open this public hearing on the special use permit. Terry Hawley is signed up to speak. Okay, also we have Billy. I can't read it. Yeah, okay, I'm sorry, couldn't read your name. If are you, if you want to speak, yeah, come on up. I'm sorry, your writing's as bad as mine. I couldn't, I could get
All
first few letters, but I couldn't get it after that.
Lawyer.
My secretary say I write like a doctor, so I understand.
Well,
And I'm sorry, but before you speak, this is a quasi judicial hearing. You have to be sworn in before you speak on it, as opposed to the zoning hearing. And I can do that. Do you affirm that any testimony you will give in this matter shall be entirely truthful, and that be your solemn affirmation?
yes, sir.
All right, you may proceed.
Commissioners, thank you for being here tonight, and thank Terry and Ryan covered a whole lot of what I had heard and talked about and thought about. When I first heard about it, naturally the first thing that comes to your mind is, like a lot of people that I have met down here over the years. I've been here 45 plus years, and you kind of get a sense of what's around you and what you grow up around. And so, change I know is inevitable, but I'm just, the things that Ryan mentioned and Terry might have touched on is, the water access was maybe the first thing that came to my mind. And
You know, that was just a big question that, because I'm not a full-time resident, so, you know, what goes on when you're not down here? So that was just a big question in my mind, and the 4 units, I think, I'm wondering down the road if they came back and wanted to build 4 more or 8 more, is that just a whole nother ball game? When, I mean, they would just have to go through the due process again, I'm assuming.
Yes,
Okay.
you would assume correctly on that.
All right. So, I don't know if Ryan talked about how many buildings that particular lot would hold. I don't have that information. I mean, would it hold 12? That was the initial asking for.
I don't know. Our application was for 4
Okay.
apartments, and
Okay.
I can't answer that. for you. I just don't know.
And, you know, I know we've had a lot of growth here at the lake in the last several years, a lot of rentals put in, tiny homes, a lot of progress, and I know is, do we need 4 more? That's mainly what I go back to. Do we need 4 more with no water access? And, you know, like Terry was touching on, the comprehensive studies of, you know, the groundwater and the runoff. All these I don't have answers to, but I think that as commissioners, you know, everybody needs to be on board and just realize that we need to just make sure that we're doing the right thing, because if everybody is like myself, you know, I just want what's best for the lake. And because I want to continue to come here, and I want my kids to continue to come, and that's kind of the bottom line for me. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jim. Okay, that was ones that were signed up to speak in regard to this. So at this time, I will close the public hearing that's in item B, and we will move to item C. That's the nationwide realty special use permit. This is one that the map is the color map that you have that handed out, that goes with that. If you'll hold that up to where the Bladen County GIS is on the left-hand side over here. Like, yeah, there you go. You can see where this is located. You'd be coming up 53. That would be the Womble on the right before you cross over 701. You'd cross over 701, and you would get on 701 south heading toward Elizabethtown, and that area right there on your right that is described as 1 acre contains the parcel where they're asking to place a billboard as a special use permit, 89 with Nationwide Realty is requesting that. So that's where it's located, just to let y'all know. Again, we duly advertised a hearing on this. We also have a sign-up sheet in regard to this matter. There is no one signed up to speak in regard to this. So after having opened the public hearing, I will now close the public hearing since there's no one signed up to speak. All right. We will be considering action on these very shortly. So if everybody will kind of hang on that. And we'll go to item number 3, which is administrative matters. And the first is our White Lake Water Management update. And if you will, let's see. Yeah. See that. Or folks, we've got so much in the agenda packet, it's a little hard to get. There we go. No. Okay, is the November report to the board. You will note that there is reference given to some items actually referred to as blobs that are floating in the lake. A sample was taken near the marina and sent off to the specialist who identifies the algae and cyanobacteria found in the lake. She determined that it is a species of cyanobacterium that has small cells embedded in a gelatinous matrix. And the reference photo of that species is on the right above. The gelatinous material is what helps them to float and coagulate and to survive for long periods of time. Cyanobacterial blobs are not new to the lake. One of the staff people with State Parks commented that he had seen these when swimming in the lake as a boy. I've certainly observed them in the past. And they can be abundant in some areas of the lake on the lake bottom. So when something like that comes up, we do have that analyzed so that we can see what's going on with it. And so an analysis has been done as to that. The second item on there is the White Lake phytoplankton trends over time and comparisons with Singletary Lake. If you will look at the information on there, they're talking about biovolume comparisons, and some of the lab work here is done by Dr. Linda Ehrlich that works with us. She's a taxonomist who's been working on White Lake samples since 2018, and we submit things to her. She turns around and basically returns that back to us with a report. The importance of that is you need to just be observant of the fact when you're talking about the phytoplankton biovolumes, a high phytoplankton biovolume tends to reduce lake clarity. And again, in addition to that, in dealing with clarity, there are other constituents such as muddy sediments that are just on the algae that's on the bottom of the lake that's stirred up by storms, boats, whatever. In June of 2022, phytoplankton biovolume in White Lake was very low, but measures of clarity were similar to June 2020 when it was relatively high. That simply indicates that a lot of the problems with the clarity was actually caused by the lake being stirred up and causing the algae and sediment on the bottom to rise in the water column. And there's an observation when you've got there at the bottom that gives the biovolume comparisons, and I think it's really interesting for you to note that there's been a lot of long-standing opinions that have been brought up since we first started having some clarity problems here at the lake, that there was a lot of talk that the lake was clear because it was acidic. And if it were acidic, again, algae and cyanobacteria would disappear. Well, that statement simply isn't true, not from a scientific viewpoint. The data collected at Singletary Lake, which is considerably more acidic than White Lake, doesn't support that opinion. In fact, it's just the opposite. It was seen in June 2023, and you can see that on the chart with Singletary having a biovolume peak that was higher than what had been seen at White Lake in June. all the way between 2018 and 2023. The phytoplankton species that dominated in June 2023 at Singletary was a desmid, like the one that's in the photo above. And similar desmids are often found dominant in summer months at White Lake. There are a lot more phytoplankton species found in White Lake compared to Singletary, and actually that is something that is very beneficial to the lake. And one other thing I wanted to point out, and having looked at this some, and just so you'll be aware of it, I don't mean to be backtracking, but if you look at number one again on those what's referred to as those floating blobs, you need to be aware of the fact that when we talk about cyanobacteria, you're not talking about one species. There are a number of cyanobacteria, and actually this cyanobacteria that has been found and was found with the lab, actually in a number of respects is beneficial to the lake. That particular cyanobacteria has the ability and does sequester the nutrient phosphorus. And of course, if it sequesters that, then it's not available for algal production in the lake. So it actually helps to reduce algal production and therefore would tend to help the clarity also, because as we know, as algal production goes up, the pH level of the lake goes up. So again, I ask you to look at that closely. There's a lot of good information that is contained in there. And again, if you need staff to follow up on anything with that, just let us know. But just wanted to point out what was in there on it.
I don't think that cyanobacteria can be harmful to children and pets.
Some species can, yes.
I'm glad you clarified that, because a lot of people, first thing to hear that they have that concern. And I'd like to know if there's any remedy to this, so if our scientists could look and tell us what kind of remedies can be used, and with our discussions with the state, maybe down the line we could be sure we can come up with a solution to help with it, if there is this wrong.
Well, we've done that one time before, but yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying. This cyanobacteria is, with its ability to sequester nutrients, or the nutrient phosphorus, as I said, just is beneficial. The cyanobacterial outbreak that we had before was the blue-green algae, which is capable of producing toxins, and it's one of the species of cyanobacteria. When that came up before, of course, we did consult with scientists. That's when we did the work that was done, that we had the alum treatment done on the lake, because that was in the primary purpose of that was to get rid of the cyanobacteria, which, as you said, is that species is capable of producing toxins. And the alum treatment was successful in doing that, in removing the blue-green algae. And as a side effect, certainly had the effect of helping with lake clarity. So both of those came about as a result of that.
Rashes and concerns, so as long as we're on top of that, and our scientists, is moving forward and not just putting a comparison to Lake Singletary, I think we'd all feel a little more comfortable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what we get the information for. So we can look at it and see what we can do.
Well, and I know we continue month to month with Dr. Lawrence, and we get a lot of information, we get a lot of comparisons, we get it to Singletary Lake, we get it to historical stuff, but we're not getting any recommendations from her. And that's what I would like to see. We've got to talk about other options. I think anybody who comes and speaks here speaks about water clarity. That's what's important to them. And if we're not working on that with some recommendation from our scientists, then my opinion is we need to move in a different direction. I know we've talked about vetting additional scientists or second opinions on that. And I think
I think this board needs to move forward on some of that. Or at least that's my opinion, that we need to move forward on that and start getting some recommendations that we can act on. Rather than some historical references that are nice to read, but not really a recommendation for us to take any action on.
Well, the two things I'd say in regard to that. Of course, Sean isn't here tonight, but he is working on, the board has requested that, and he's working on trying to locate someone that could come in from a hydrology viewpoint and be able to give us further recommendations. And I think as far as the other thing, of course, there are some things that we are doing. That's part of our stormwater management program that we've got going on. We're trying to do everything that we can from keeping nutrients from entering into the lake. And the more nutrients we can keep from entering into the lake, the better our water clarity is going to be. So we have tried to move on that. And one of the things is the recommendation to the state, for example, that we no longer allow discharge of the surface water into the lake as was done in the past. And of course, they have changed the lake regulations in regard to that. That's one small thing, but there have been some steps taken. And of course, our big step is to keep working on as hard as we can, keeping nutrients from entering the lake. And I think once we can do that, hopefully that's going to be a big help in regard, and of course, along with other things that we would do. All right, unless there's something else on that, the next thing is the water AIA project update. And you were given a brief update by the senior project engineer. Work that was completed in October of 2023, and the work coming up that's anticipated during the month of November 2023. And of course, we continue to work with Withers Ravenel on our water infrastructure project. All right, the next item is under our administrative matters is either approval or disapproval of Apartment Concepts LLC zoning map amendment. What they are requesting is a map amendment for the 4 units as shown on the, there's another map that Pat handed out that has a copy of what's on there. And in the agenda, it's the 4 units. And on this, I would say to you that the planning board did recommend approval of the zoning map amendment from residential R1 to recreational residential R2. And at this time, I would entertain a motion that either we approve or disapprove the zoning application. You will see there are 4 choices to be made on the motion. There's 2 for approval, 2 for disapproval. In regard to this matter, staff is recommending under motions to approve the first item that says the board has reviewed these documents and found them to be consistent with the adopted town of White Lake land use plan and so forth. So that's where we're at with it. I would entertain a motion either to approve or disapprove the application that's been made.
I got a couple of issues that bother me immensely on this. Is we spent a lot of money on this board. Some of y'all weren't on the board at this time, to the master plan. We had meetings and meetings, and we brought in experts, and we laid out R1s and R2s and what businesses. And all of a sudden, we went back and rezoned what we approved moving forward. We put in an ice house and put some mobile homes in. So we were not real consistent, and we're talking about having another master plan. So we keep recreating these master plans and changing back. My other concern is on 53, the other side of the street, there's some beautiful single-family homes going up, help enhancing our community. I like to see that on this drive here, besides campgrounds, which I'm one of them, and apartments. I'd love to see single families. I think that was what it was originally zoned, was R1, is that, and we're now going to R2. Is that, I'm reading that correctly, right? Residential. But my other
For
thing
that
is-
one tract of land.
on that one, but that one track is for those 4 apartments, right?
Yes, that's correct.
On one hand, where the biggest thing comes in front of the board is zoning, because we all friends, we all know our neighbors, and we all want to use our land how we want to see best use. So everybody was contacted that lived next door and across the street from this zoning. Is that correct, Pat? I read all the letters were mailed. And we've only had one person speaking tonight that really lives across the street. Nobody adjacent to that property has had any complaints as far as this board's can me just making my decision tonight. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. So, you know, that on one end, that kind of puts me at ease
Mhm.
that we don't have a room full of people, because like I said, that's normally our biggest thing on the board is pass by. But on the other side, more apartments. I see that. I see, but we got an owner that's a good operator, but if he sells, what's the downside? I hope there's no additional growth, but we do have mobile homes, we got campgrounds, we got a quagmire of businesses, and I reckon if there's any more commercial, I don't see the thing, somebody put the go-kart track, I don't want them people start fussing about that, you know? But we had a plan, and we're going back the way we once were. And I think we're having discussions, having another master plan. So these developers, I wish they kind of keep the horse in front of the cart. Seems like a lot of times they got the cart in front of the horse and they want to switch it back around. And but that's what I look at openly, all y'all, what my pros and cons. But without more people voicing opinion not to do it, I make a motion, we if the planning board's approved it, we go with the planning board.
Hey, there's been a motion to approve. I assume your motion would be for that item bullet number 1.
Yes.
That the board has reviewed these documents, found the proposed map amendments consistent with the objectives, goals, and policies in the adopted townwide land use plan. And the map amendment is reasonable in the public interest at this time. There's been a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
A motion to approve in a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of approval indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. That is approved. Item C is approval or disapproval of Apartment Concepts LLC special use permit. As I said, once that is approved, as I said at public hearings, then the next step is to approve this being it requires a special use permit. That's what we had the hearing on it. Do note that at the bottom of C on the action, there is something in there that is incorrect. It should say approve or disapprove, not zoning map amendment, but it should say approve or disapprove request, which is special use permit 2411 and it's not RA residential agricultural, it's R2 because we just changed it to R2 zoning district by using one of the following statements when making a motion. And under this, the planning board has recommended approval, and the motion that is recommended by planning board and staff is again the first bullet item that's contained under motions to approve. I would entertain a motion for the approval of the special use permit.
So moved.
Motion second.
Second.
Any discussion? Not all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Item D is approval or disapproval of nationwide Realty billboard sign. Likewise, I need to point out on that on the action portion, there is an error in there. It says approve or disapprove zoning map amendment request. That's not what it is. It's approve or disapprove special use permit request, SUP 4065, which is in the RA Residential Agricultural District, by using one of the following statements when making a motion. And again, this has been approved by the planning board, and also staff is recommending approval pursuant to bullet point number 1, the first one under motion to approve.
How many billboards are they requesting? Just
Correct, a billboard in that
that
location.
could be the most they could have, or they could.
Yeah, well, I would certainly say so on this because two things. One, it requires a special use permit because it's not, there's not a brick and mortar building on the property. So we require a special use permit, and then DOT requires hundreds of feet
So
of
they
setbacks on
still
each
got
side.
setbacks
They still,
from-
and they still have to comply with that. We can't, we can look at the zoning on it, but we can't approve the erection or not an erection of the billboard, but that's just what they're requesting here. And our special use permit is just approving the one. I would think it would be on that limited amount of land. It'd probably be very difficult to come back with anything else on it, but they would have to come back with a separate special use permit. So we would be covered from that viewpoint. All right. Again, I'd entertain a motion to either approve or disapprove the item C, special use permit request.
Suddenly.
Is that a motion to approve
Yes.
under the first bullet point? For the record, that would state the board has reviewed these documents, found the proposed special use permit is consistent with the objective goals and policies in the adopted Town of White Lake land use plan, and the special use permit is reasonable and in the public interest at this time. So there's been a motion for approval. Was there a second? Motion second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye. All opposed, like sign. Item, I said C, that was D that we just approved. And next item under item E is the town vehicle use agreement policy. I will tell you that this is just for the town's protection. I assume you've had a chance to take a look at it, but it puts certain requirements on people that are using vehicles for the town. This is a form and policy we got from the North Carolina League of Municipalities. They provide some of our insurance needs. And again, it's for the protection of the town as far as anybody using this outside of the policies of the town. So we're just trying to make sure that it's all done in a correct manner in accordance with the North Carolina General Statutes under 14-247. So at this time, I would, and staff is recommending this, that it be adopted as presented. I would entertain a motion to approve item E, which is the town vehicle use agreement policy.
So moved.
Motion second.
Second.
Any discussion? Not all in favor indicate by saying aye. Any opposed, like sign. Item 4 is an ordinance regulating bulk sales of water. The White Lake Town Board of Commissioners acknowledges that the bulk sales of water shall be allowed by permit only. Permit must be obtained from the town of White Lake Town Hall, shall be issued at a cost of $5 per permit. And basically what's done on this is you at an outlet, you put a metering device. And if people are, for example, if they're coming in and they're needing to fill up a tank with water for doing landscaping needs, for doing things like that, that's basically what it is. We just didn't have any way of accommodating folks on this before. And of course, you know, people don't want somebody, even if they're a friend, going hooking up their tanks to their water system and, you know, pulling water off of it. So we charge according to the, you know, the town rates and all. And again, this would regulate that bulk sales of water, and the town would receive income from doing that. So again, the staff is acting, and Public Works is asking that be approved, since we have a need for that. And our Public Works Director is here if you have any questions on that. But at this point, I would entertain a motion that we approve that ordinance regulating the bulk sales of water.
And only $5 is all we can get?
No, that's for permit. They have to pay in addition for the water. This is not all you can drink for $5. This is we're talking about that has to do with the meter that we attach to it, and it has to be run through a meter, and they have to pay for that. So we're glad to supply it. They just got to pay for it. So they have to pay whatever actual water usage that they have. At this point, I would entertain a motion to approve ordinance under item number 4, which is the 2024-02 regulating bulk sales of water.
Motion to approve is presented.
The motion, there's second.
Second.
Any discussion? Not all in favor indicate by saying aye. All opposed, like sign. The next item is simply a housekeeping matter. You have already approved the zoning change from R1 residential to R2 recreational residential, and we have to amend the zoning text of the Town of White Lake zoning ordinance to show that amendment. Doesn't require a new plan. It just shows the text amendment on that. So, and that's from 3B. So I would entertain a motion on doing a text amendment to show the change from, it just reflects the change that you adopted earlier from R1 to R2. Motion second.
Second.
Any discussion? Not all in favor indicate by saying aye. All opposed, like sign. Next is a resolution on, and this will be something that'll be on Gov Deals, on declaring a 1999 Chevrolet Suburban 1500 as surplus property and authorizing the electronic auction of surplus personal property. And again, it'll be on Gov Deals as we've done before. And I would entertain a motion that we approve that resolution so that we can proceed with a disposition of that vehicle.
So moved.
Motion second.
Second.
Any discussion?
How many miles we got on that?
More than anybody can count. I think it's what, that's lower than what I thought it would be.
Yeah.
We don't have to drive it great distances.
That's what it showed.
You sure? You sure it's 69,000 or it's 69 years old? Well, we've had that thing for 1999 Chevrolet. It's 24 years old. It's about seen its life. Okay, did we get a vote on that? I know we had a motion with a second. Got a vote on it. Okay. All right. In item 6, before we get to the departmental briefing and reports, are there any brief commissioners matters that need to be brought up before we go into the others on this? And Tim, one thing I would mention is Sean wanted me to let you know at the meeting that you had mentioned the dilapidated homes earlier. He is checking with the county building inspector and all. He just wanted to let you know that was being looked
I
at.
gave the wrong street. Williams, it should have been, what name it, Carolina Avenue, or what?
Yeah, well, he's looking at that, and Sean had actually talked about wanting to join us by Zoom tonight. When I spoke with him briefly this afternoon, he had pretty much lost his voice, and so he just wasn't able to get on with us. So again, hope he'll be doing better. And we've got the following departmental reports are provided as information.
Only other thing, Mr. Brown, commercial
Sure.
business. If Pat there, will pull on my heartstring. And what she's going through with this cancer and stress levels, it can affect somebody's health. I hope we got 6 people in admin. I hope they all get cross-trained and they all can fill in and help her. Honey, I pray for you. And like she pull my heartstring and anything I can do, and I know this board feels the same way as the mayor. I'm glad to work with you. You've been with us a long time. We want you to stay with us, and I just want to go on record saying anything I can do, and let me know, whether it's giving you a ride there or helping you anyway.
I appreciate your comment on that. I should have brought that out earlier. Pat is, Pat, I know you don't mind us, commenting on it. She is going through a difficult time. We are doing everything we can administratively to support her in that, and we're hopeful. How many weeks you got left now? How many? Yeah. Two more. Will that be over a period of 2 weeks, or is that going to be longer? Okay. Okay. So you got 2 more of those. Set. Yeah. Well, you certainly are in our thoughts and prayers for what you're going through. Pat has been with us a long time, worked with planning and zoning with us for a while as our town clerk now. I can assure you the ladies that are working here in the town hall are certainly doing everything they can to accommodate, and we will continue to do that. So thank you for mentioning that, Tim. We do have, as we always do, the town administrators report, tax collectors report, post office, police department, including the fuel reports and public works. Just to let you know, as informational purposes, the municipal complex and post office will be closed Thursday, November 23rd, and Friday, November 24th for the Thanksgiving holiday. And we, as always, will have an on-call person available in case of water sewer emergency. At this time, we're at our open forum session and meeting. Anyone wishing to address the board in open session, if you'll stand up, give your name and address, and you have 3 minutes to address the board. If there is no one to address the board tonight, I appreciate all of you being here, and we do not have any closed session. Yes.
I'm sorry, no, I need to address this then for later, but anyway, I just wanted to make a comment and say that, as far as the back to the apartment complex stuff, speaking of the Billy and I feel like I walk in your shoes, because I've had the apartment complex built almost across the street from me, and I think it was pretty much the same group that did it, that's doing this one, but I have been pleasantly surprised at the results of what the appearance has been. Also, I have not had any conflicts or anything with any resident over there, and there's a pretty good pile of folks over there. It seems like at least there's a lot of cars. So at any rate, for what it's worth, to maybe set your mind at ease or what have you, it hadn't been a bad experience. And again, I hope that's assuming that everything stays in the same ownership, and with Ryan and everybody has the common goals of making White Lake better, and to my knowledge, we all do. So I just wanted to mention that to you, maybe set your mind at ease.
Tim, I would be remiss if I didn't mention it this time, and hopefully you'll be here at the December meeting, but I certainly want to thank you for your service on the board. I knew you choose not run this time, and but we certainly have enjoyed working with you over the period of time you served on the board, and look forward to receiving any continued input that you have.
Yes,
with us. And we do thank you for your service on the board. Okay, anything else that we have to come up tonight?
Dale, have y'all sold all your fundraiser tickets?
We're still standing. Friday, sheriff, all of
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion second.
Second.
Any discussion? Not all in favor indicate by saying aye. All opposed, like sign.